it's Keely. I'm back with another What Sold From Last Week video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my sales that happened on my two main platforms, which are eBay and Poshmark. Last week, we'll dive into the sales numbers as well as show you some individual sales. I've got some fun and exciting stuff to show you. Lots of men's stuff in today's video, as well as some bread and butter things that you can come across all the time that flip for about $20 to $30. All right, so starting off, we are going over sales that happened October 19th through October 25th. In total, I sold 125 items for around $4,000 of gross item sales, meaning not including shipping. My average item sale price was around $31. On eBay, I sold 80 items with an average item sale price of close to $36, and on Poshmark, 45 items sold with a much lower ASP of around $25. The first one I want to show you is one I have sold so much of, and I continue sharing them with you because if I can find them in my small town, you can absolutely find them. And it is something that a lot of people are willing to pay good money for, regardless of condition, and they are vintage Carhartt jackets. Now, this one in particular was not like the most desirable style. However, it was still a vintage Carhartt jacket. I always look up the style, the size, the colorway, and include condition, everything, when I am pricing a Carhartt men's jacket or even a women's, because I want to make sure that I'm getting the most for my item, and I also want to make sure that I'm not overpricing. And that's something I see a lot of people doing with Carhartt jackets, is way overpricing. I've sold Carhartt vintage jackets pre-owned for close to $400, and I've also sold them as low as around $80 before. It really just depends on the style and everything in between. So this particular one, I listed for $85. It was a more common piece with a lot of competition, although still a great piece people are looking for. I paid up for this item $12.69, and this ended up selling just a few weeks after being listed for my full asking price. Keep your eye out for Carhartt, and it's pretty much just the vintage Carhartt jackets. There are a few things within Carhartt that you can look for, like sometimes the men's hoodies in larger sizes do well, certain small pockets of things, but in general, it's mostly the canvas jackets. Next up, interesting story on this. This is a designer brand called Cinzia Roca. It is, I wouldn't say it's highly sought after, but it's pretty sought after. However, sell-through rate's not that great. It is a made in Italy item. And this was a very capsule wardrobe, very classic trench coat that I thought would do really well and perform well really on any platform during any time of the year. I actually paid up for this $30, which I wish I wouldn't have done. And I listed this originally like way high. Some of the more classic pieces in this brand, Cinzia Roca, were selling for closer to $200. However, I listed mine as we were moving into warmer weather, and it sat and it sat, and I've dropped the price. We even took this and put it on a Whatnot show to see if anybody would be interested in it when we were selling some fall stuff. And even at, I believe it was $7 we had it listed for, nobody wanted it on Whatnot. So it was just one of those items that it feels like it's the bane of your existence, like you can't get rid of it. Or do you sometimes have those items like they constantly get returned no matter what you do, even though they're great pieces? This was that for me. And so we decided to list it again one more time now that we're back in the right season. And we listed it back at its dropped price, which was around $135 or best offer. And very quickly after that, we got an offer for $80, and I went ahead and accepted to move that item. So it's been listed for less than a year, but gone through several rounds of attempting to sell. And I, at this point, just want to see that item move. Let me know down below, do you have some items like that that just are so stubborn and they will not move out of your store? All right, next up, this was another one that we reworked. We knew we were coming closer to the Halloween season when people are buying stuff like this where it's a little bit more skewed to a certain aesthetic or a theme. And so we wanted to refresh this dress and give it the best chance to sell. This is the brand Roberta. It is a vintage item From what I can tell, this brand Roberta is pretty sought after in the vintage community. It's just that you're not going to come across it very often, so there's very limited information as far as comping goes. But I knew that this was going to do well. It had a very corsety type of top, very trendy right now. These very feminine details and tighter fitted silhouettes are what's trending. Plus, this was a darker color. It could lean vamp, it could lean witchy, it could lean whimsy goth, it could lean for all of the things. So we got this refreshed and dropped the price a little bit to get this to move closer to Halloween. I originally only paid $7 for this and had it listed for about $85 or best offer. This ended up selling on a dropped price within, looks like only a couple weeks after getting it refreshed, for our full dropped price of around $71. So great flip on that. And honestly, I reworked it sooner than 90 days. So it hasn't really sat that long, but that is a tip I have for you guys. If you have something that's sat for, 2 to 3 months and you're coming onto a season where that window is going to be the best window to sell something, it might be worth getting your item reworked or adding in a few keywords to get it to sell. All right, next up is a category that I look for very heavily during this time of the year. They are dressier, longer length coats, specifically in the men's department, although I do like looking for them also in the women's department. This was a men's Ralph Lauren wool mid-length pea coat that we found at the bins, so paid a little bit up for this. I find at the bins, nobody wants to pick up the heavier things, so I'm always looking at them because typically it's stuff everyone's leaving behind. They're not even looking at the brand. And sometimes these more substantial pieces are worth paying up for. And really any kind of men's dressy coat like this where it looks business and it's in great condition and it's a decent size in longer lengths is something that I would be looking up. There's lots of brands that I don't normally pick up that do perform well in this category in the men's department. This one happened to be a good brand that people look for. So Ralph Lauren, size 38R, listed this for $65. It did sell for our full asking price of $65, and this one actually sold the exact same day that we got it listed. Next up, this is an item we paid up for. I paid $14 for this and listed it for $70. This is a J.Crew women's schoolboy blazer. You guys know I have a lot of experience selling J.Crew women's blazers and men's blazers, but the women's blazers are something that I find pretty often and I flip pretty frequently. And so this had a lot of factors stacking on top of each other where I knew it was going to sell quickly. So this is a new with tags item. That would be one factor. It's a size 12, which is a great size. And it's their schoolboy blazer, which is one of their most popular styles in blazers. With all of that, we did some comps and listed for $70. And it very quickly, within just a few days, sold on an offer to watcher for $59. So $14 into $59, and it happened super quickly. I love quick flips. Next up, this is an absolute bolo. This is in a brand that I don't pick up everything in, which is Toad & Co. However, in substantial pieces, I do like getting it, and their sweaters, their cardigans have a really good sell-through rate, and I always love finding them. I get really excited. So this is a women's size medium. It was a lamb's wool hooded cardigan. I listed this one high at $60. I paid $12 for this in wholesale. And it sold for my full asking price of $60 in just a few days after being listed. This is a brand that I don't get hardly ever anymore, but during fall and winter, I like factor stacking with this brand, and I come across Eddie Bauer quite often because I live in a very mountainous kind of area, so we find a lot of Eddie Bauer, a lot of LL Bean, all the outdoorsy stuff. But Eddie Bauer isn't a brand that performs really well in most things anymore. However, I always keep an eye out for their goose down jackets. So they're real feather-filled jackets. This had a lot of factor stacking, so it was real down. It was a men's larger size. It was a men's, and it was a neutral color, and it was super puffy, so a lot more thick than normal. So all of that combined into one is why we even looked at this thing. Picked this up at the bins as well, some more coats from the bins. Listed this for $55, and it did sell for our full asking price of $55. It looks like this one took about 2.5 months to sell. All right, this may look familiar. This is a blast from the past. I had this listed probably a few months ago. I showed it in a thrift haul, It's been over 90 days, which is the window that I try to sell things in. Within 90 days is my goal. When something doesn't sell within 90 days, I'm trying to move it at all costs. This is a Wet Seal women's vintage super rare tank top. And I did not know what to price this thing for. If you guys remember during that thrift haul, I said, I have no idea. I'm going to price super high and accept best offer and see what attention I get. Had a ton of watchers. I even had a few offers on this item when I had it listed for over $100 or best offer. However, the item didn't sell. 90 days have passed, so we've dropped that price and we want it to move. I ended up dropping the price back down to $95 or best offer. I very quickly got an offer for $60 and I went ahead and accepted to move that item. So $4.99 into 60, a couple months longer than I would have liked it to take. I initially, again, priced too high, but it is crazy to me that even though it took longer to sell than I would have expected, that Wet Seal can sell for $60 and have a ton of attention. There's a few reasons why I knew this one was special. First of all, it is the like baby tee style. You can look that up if you want. So that's a trending style. Wet Seal was trending a couple of months ago because it is a popular Y2K mall brand. And this print in particular, this Asian style dragon print, is very trendy in the Y2K aesthetic. And so all of those factors combined, I knew it was going to be a great sale. Obviously more than what you'd even pay at the store. However, I was hoping for a little bit more, but we'll take 60. All right, next up is a men's brand that you want to know about. It's called Greyson. There's also a brand called Greyson with an A. This is the Greyson with an E. And I find that this brand, although it doesn't have a 100% sell-through rate, depending on the piece you have, there are pockets of bolos within this brand, so I do enjoy finding it. I was offered this through wholesale for $9, which I accepted. This is a Greyson men's larger size Yukon puffer vest, size extra, extra large. I listed this for $45 and it sold for our full asking price of $45 just a day after getting it listed. And I'll show you this brand here in another item once we get to the Posh sales. But again, I do enjoy finding it. You just want to make sure that you really drill down to the factors that you have because not all of it sells quickly. All right, another brand I love finding during this time of the year is Patagonia. That's another one I come across pretty often. Similar to Eddie Bauer and LL Bean, not really 100% bolo brand anymore, but I do look for the substantial pieces, so the outerwear stuff right now. So this is Patagonia. It is called the Regulator R4 Fleece Vest. This is a men's size large, and it is in the color blue. Again, when it comes to brands like these, drilling down to the exact item you have, whether figuring out the style name, filtering to the size, filtering sometimes even to the specific color is really beneficial for you. It could be the difference of seeing that an item is 100% sell-through rate or seeing that an item is only 20% sell-through rate. Just depends on what you have and how rare the specific combination of factors that you have. So this one I listed for $50. I paid $10 in wholesale. I pay a little bit more in wholesale just because a lot of the items are going to sell higher and they're a little bit more curated for us. And obviously they get delivered to us. So the convenience is amazing. I am looking for some more wholesalers if anybody is interested, but they need to be higher end items like this where they have a really great sell-through rate and we know they're going to sell for quite a bit. So I paid 10 for this in wholesale, listed for 50. A buyer actually sent us a message asking if we would take $42, and I went ahead and used that message feature to send them an offer, and they accepted $42. This one actually sold the exact same day after we got it listed. All right, another bolo I'm looking for is Made in Ireland wool sweaters. This is one of many brands that I would look for. It is Aaronmore, and you can see it also says Ireland. This is a 100% merino wool cape. I got this in wholesale for $8, listed this for $40, sold for my full asking price, and it only took 22 days to sell, so a few weeks to get this listed and sold. And really all of this cable knit chunky wool stuff is very trendy right now. All right, this one took way longer to sell than I wanted to, but I would still honestly pick something like this up. Eileen Fisher is and has been for a while one of my favorite brands. They really retail for a lot and they hold their value quite a bit, and there is a demand for them. One thing I like about this brand is that it does seem oversaturated on eBay, but if you know how to market it to the right buyer, you can move it. I listed this in the middle of summer. It's a linen maxi skirt, and Eileen Fisher combining great factors. It's a great factor stacking brand. So this is a longer length linen skirt is why I got it. We're now in fall, so I've dropped the price, and it ended up selling for my dropped price of $38. And I originally paid $5. This is a brand, again, I would continue picking up. There are certain things that I like to get, even though I know that I might have to sell them at a lower price to move them, or that they might take slightly longer to sell than I would like. They pad my sales and they're tried and true sellers. Here's another example, one that took a little bit longer than I would have liked, but again, great brand to pad my sales with is Ralph Lauren. Specifically, the men's larger sizes perform excellent for me. This is a men's 4XL so 4XL tall men's plaid shirt, and this sold for a dropped price of $33. All right, this one I would consider a bolo brand. It is Oak Hill. This one flies under the radar a lot. They make larger, like big and tall sizes for men. They're very well known for that. I came across them in several blazers. Their blazers have an excellent sell-through rate. And since then, I've been noticing a few other things by this brand that also sell pretty well. So this is a men's cardigan. When I looked up Oak Hill men's cardigans in the size, it actually didn't have close to a 100% sell-through rate, but because I know men's cardigans are trending so well, I wanted to give it a try. So I listed it and just priced slightly lower. This one we listed for around $34 and it sold for our full asking price. This one only took a couple of weeks to sell and I paid $5.99. Yeah, keep your eye out in the blazer section specifically for this brand. They make very large sizes. So 3XL, 4XL, 5XL, I think maybe even 6XL, and they tend to have really great sell-through rates. All right, this is an athletic wear brand that has just continued to soar as far as popularity. It is Alo Yoga. This was a pair of their leggings called the Alo Soft Lounge leggings in a size large. Also, the color pink, which is a trending color right now. Listed this one for $35. It sold for our full asking price of $35 and it took about a week to sell. Any Alo Yoga pieces, I'm not getting all of them, but I'm at least looking them up because again, very trendy right now. This was an item that also sold very quickly. This is Smartwool. I've talked about this brand quite a bit. I think I actually mentioned it in the base layer video that I just did. If you want, you can go back and watch that one for some brands for bolo brands and wool base layers, but this brand is definitely known for that. This is more of an outerwear piece. It's a zip pullover in a women's size small. I listed this for $40 or best offer. We quickly received an offer for $34, which was extremely reasonable. And I went ahead and accepted that. This sold within just a few days of being listed. All right, I love this sale because there is absolutely no brand at all. And you would be shocked at how much of the stuff you're passing up, especially at the bins. Plus, these pieces tend to be super lightweight for me. Could probably reasonably say I'm paying like a quarter to 50 cents per piece, sometimes maybe even less than that, because they're usually super meshy, super lightweight, satin. And yeah, regardless of brand or no brand at all, I'm getting pieces like this and selling them as a style-based piece. So this one was a gorgeous longer length dress, sheer meshy details with dark floral. This is just like everything that the whimsy goth community is looking for right now. I included keywords whimsy goth, mesh, maxi for the length, and also witchy and grunge. There's so many more that I could have included. I could have even done like dark romantic or something like that. But it just goes to show you that you don't necessarily need to have a bolo brand to sell things for bolo prices. This one I listed at $35 and it did sell for our full asking price of $35. This one took a month to sell. And again, we picked this up from the bins at a very low price. Here is another item that is style-based from the bins, super lightweight. This is a Y2K Rue 21 item, and it is just an open knit layering piece. I find that these unique open knit pieces perform very well for me, and they lean into a lot of aesthetics. So for this one, I leaned more into fairy grunge, but I could have also gone into like festival. I could have gone into boho, maybe even log and look on this one. So there's lots of different ways that these open knit pieces can go, but I try to make sure I have some more unique ones. I listed this for 25 bucks. This is a great bread and butter flip for me that really pad my sales, are super easy to list, and they flip super quickly. This one I listed for 25. It sold on an offer to Watcher for around $21, and this one also only took a few weeks to sell. Here is another piece padding the sales. I've noticed Brandy Melville has been selling really well for me. It's not a brand that I used to seek after, but it seems like the Y2K community likes it. This brand is known for being like one size fits all, which is not typically something I would want to get. Very tightly fitted, but again, trendy style. These little like Y2K style tank tops I love getting. So I picked up this Brandy Melville tank top. I listed this for $25, and it did sell for a full asking price. This one took 1 month to sell. Here's another one. This one's completely unbranded. It's just a Y2K baby doll top, similar silhouette to all the other stuff I've been showing you. Included quite a few keywords on this one. I think the best one was probably like vampire and renaissance on this one. Listed this for $25. It sold for our full asking price of $25. This one took almost 3 months to sell. Here's another super quick flip. This is a Land's End swim top, and normally I don't pick up, first of all, normally I don't pick up swimwear for fall and winter, but normally I don't pick up swimwear separates because they just like never perform well. So it's either bikini sets that match or it's one-piece swimsuits. But there are a few brands that I know of that do perform well in separates, and this is one of them. So their tankini tops perform very well, especially in larger sizes. Came across this Lands End size 22W tankini top, and I got it for $5. Listed it for $25. It sold for a full asking price of $25 in about a month and a half of listing. And I would have probably priced this higher if we were in the middle of summer, but since we're moving into the colder weather time where the demand on this item is going down, we priced it very competitively. I'm glad we did because it moved pretty quickly. All right, here's another bread and butter item that I like getting. J.Crew men's pieces, specifically anything that's like their vintage feel. This is the vintage fleece sweatshirt. You can see it actually says it on here. Lots of J.Crew men's pieces perform well for me. Again, nothing crazy, like 20, 25 bucks in the more bread and butter stuff. But again, great to pad sales. Paid $4.99 for this, listed for $25. It sold for full asking price of $25. And this one took about a month and a half to sell. All right, one of the few bra brands that I still get, we've come across a lot of these recently. I think this might be the last one we have. SheFit bras, the adjustable sports bras. They do make other things, so make sure you're getting the ones that actually do sell, which are these, the adjustable ones with the hook and loop Velcro features. This one we listed for $30, and it sold on an offer to Watcher for $25. This one only took 3 days to sell. All right, this was an interesting sale, definitely more of a style-based piece. This is the brand So, and it is a modern label, not one I would memorize. But I wanted to show you this because any kind of pull-on flare pant, or really not even pull-on, but any kind of super flare pant with this silhouette is something I would be looking up. Style-based wise, I think it does well, but also can add value to brand-based items, which I'll show you an example of one here in a bit. But any kind of super exaggerated flare pant, I'm personally looking up. I find that it performs well. So this is a larger size, style-based pull-on flare pant. Listed this for $25. It sold for a full asking price of $25, and this one took a couple of months to sell. Here is another brand that is very outdoorsy and performs well in the men's department for us. It is Mountain Hardwear. This one is a Mountain Hardwear men's full zip fleece vest in a size extra large. So again, lots of factor stacking there. Listed this for $30, got it from the bins, sold for full asking price of $30. This one actually sold the very next day after being listed. All right, this one sold in a bundle, so it probably sold for around $25 after the discount, but I wanted to show you this because the brand is not a brand I know anything about. It's not one I would memorize. However, this item had so much interest on all of the platforms that I had it listed on, specifically Depop. I think I had over 100 likes, like, or 100 saves, whatever you call it on Depop. And I was like, man, like anytime something pops off like that on Depop tells me it's a very good style-based piece. And again, I had interest on other platforms as well, but we paid a few bucks for this item. It's not even necessarily like screaming any one thing to me. Like, so to me, it was just like, I guess I need to study this piece because it isn't something I think should have that much interest. Obviously, I bought it, so I think it's going to sell and have interest, but not as much interest as it did. So yeah, a really interesting piece. We marketed this to the correct customer, which is why I think it sold. Forest Fairy, grunge, and goblin core was something that we use, and that's definitely fitting that aesthetic. It's just that those aesthetics are not as trendy as some other things, so I'm shocked at how much interest this had. I listed this for $30. Like I said, this one sold in a bundle, a really large bundle, I think like 10 or 12 items of all Y2K fairy style stuff. And so this probably sold individually for about $25 plus shipping. All right, next up, another quick style-based flip. Again, padding sales that are super easy to list. Not a brand you want to know, but these Y2K lace trim tops where they actually have the Y2K style, meaning it's a longer fitted silhouette, perform very well for me. And since this was kind of a no-name brand that people don't seek after, I listed lower. Listed this at $20 and it sold for full asking price of $20. This one only took a few weeks to sell. Same thing with this one. Here's Brandy Melville again. This one is also lace trim, but it's also a shorter length. And because of that, I priced even lower, just kind of doing some experimenting with how quickly we can flip things. And so I listed this at $18 and it sold for a full asking price of $18. This one did take a couple of months to sell. All right, another one flipping for good bread and butter money. This is H&M Divided. Not a brand you want to get, but silhouette really good. It's got that baby doll coquette milkmaid style to it, and it's got some gorgeous colors for fall and winter, very feminine, romantic details. Super small size extra, extra small. I listed this for $25. It sold on an offer to watcher for $21, and this only took a couple of weeks to sell. Another one, super quick flip. Again, open crochet, meshy, lacy stuff. If I can market it to the right buyer, I pick them up all day long at the bins. Again, like 25 cents, 50 cents. This one is by Lord & Taylor. It is a vintage nylon meshy long sleeve top. Listed this for $25, included tons of keywords. You can look at it in the title. And it sold for my full asking price of $25. This one only took a few weeks to sell. And then last one on eBay before we dive into some of the Poshmark sales. This is also a really great bread and butter one. This is Gymshark men's. I had like pretty much given up on Gymshark, but in the men's department, it actually has a pretty decent sell-through rate. They're not going to go for anything crazy, but 20, 25 bucks. If you find them at the bins or on sale, I think it's worth it. So this is a pair of men's Gymshark joggers. I listed these for around $25. They sold on an offer to watcher for around $21. And I paid $4.99. All right, moving on to the Poshmark stuff. Here is that brand Greyson again. Here's the wolf logo. These are a pair of athleisure shorts, and they sold on an offer for $30. Here's another brand you want to be on the hunt for as far as athletic wear goes. It is Vuori. This is a men's Stratotech short sleeve polo. Most of the time, you're not going to see the tag there, so you want to look down here, bottom right, for some kind of a logo. And once you feel it, you'll kind of know what it is. But Vuori is the new Lululemon and it sells extremely well, very high sell-through rate. This men's polo, I think we listed for 35 and it sold on an offer very quickly for 30. Here is another pair of Carhartt items. This is not a canvas jacket, but it is canvas overalls, and that's something else we look for. This one had a lot of wear to them, but we still wanted to flip them because, again, when it comes to this workwear stuff and the canvas material does not seem to matter. Listed this for, I think, around 70, and I accepted an offer of 50. Here's another J.Crew piece. I love picking up J.Crew sweaters with lots of factor stacking during this time of the year. So this is a new with tags, women's Fair Isle, which is a popular print right now, button-up cardigan. I accepted an offer of $40 on this one, and really all sweaters where I can factor stack lots of things into it, I am taking a look at. Here's another example of those flare pants. So this is We the Free. We the Free pants, jeans, like most of the time not good at all unless you've got like the barrel leg style or you've got the flare leg like this. But again, that flare exaggeration is what I look for and sometimes can be a quick flip. This one was not the best style and it was a super small size. So because of that, I priced very competitively and I accepted an offer on these pants of $25. Here's another Patagonia. Again, outerwear pieces are things I look for and I look up the exact style. This is a Patagonia women's Rubicon Rider puffer jacket. I accepted an offer of $63. There was significant wear to this item. Otherwise, I would have held out for more. And puffer items in general are something you want to be looking at. All right, here's a shoe brand that performs pretty well for me. I thought I would mention it is Pikolinos. If you look this up, you're not going to see the brand have a 100% sell-through rate as a whole, but they make really high quality leather stuff. And in my opinion, if you price them right, Pikolinos shoes perform pretty well for me. There's several brands I can think of, like Joseph Seibel. I don't know how to pronounce it, but stuff like that. These soft quality, kind of artsy looking leather shoes, if you price them right, you can flip them pretty quickly. These ones ended up selling for $34. This is an item I've had for a long time. This is a Dallas Cowboys vintage jacket. Now, normally vintage cowboy stuff performs extremely well for me. But for whatever reason, this one was just not moving. I probably had it priced too high in the beginning and it ended up selling on an offer for $72 and on Poshmark, which means someone can't return it. So again, one of those items, it's like, this is a plague. I need it gone. Very happy when those items sell on Poshmark because I'm not going to get them back. So this sold for $72. I've sold many different vintage Cowboys stuff like sweatshirts, jackets, and again, performs pretty well for me. If it is a popular team and it's vintage, I would definitely be looking into it. All right, here's another Lands' End item. In general, men's cardigans, very trendy style right now. You definitely want to look it up and know what it is you have and try to factor stack. But in general, men's cardigans performing very well. This is a Lands' End men's size small. I don't like getting the smaller sizes in men's, but this had some great factors going for it. So full button and the shawl detail, this collar style right here is something that men are looking for in combination with cardigans. So if you have it, make sure to include shawl somewhere in your listing. Next up, this is a great high sell-through rate. I would say it's more bread and butter brand now. It is Free Fly. They make bamboo pieces and they're known for being like a sustainable company. People really like them. Their average sell price has definitely gone down, but I still find them to be a quick flip that goes for about $25. This is a women's open front cardigan that sold for $25. All right, this was another item that had like crazy, insane likes on Depop. I cross-posted this over to Poshmark and Depop and obviously eBay where I start everything. and the amount of attention that this got on Depop was kind of insane. But they were sending me offers that I wasn't happy with, so I just waited it out and it ended up selling. But I thought I would mention it. Ariat does have several like pockets of bolos within it, specifically in the men's department that do perform well. So anytime I see Ariat, I'm always looking it up. This ended up selling for $23 on Poshmark. This is a factor stacking category that I look for still, which are 100% alpaca sweaters. So this is called Alpaca 7. I'm not familiar with it, but 100% baby alpaca, super soft sweater. And we included some keywords like holiday and Christmas in this to just try to market it to the right buyer. Listed this for $35 and I have automatic offers get sent out after somebody likes it and somebody accepted that offer of $29. Another quick flip, bread and butter. This is Abercrombie and Fitch. It is their more modern label. It's a pretty simple dress, shorter length, but had a lot of great details. I probably actually could have held out for about $35 for this, but I received an offer of $25 and I accepted to get the item moving. Here's another factor stacking piece. This is not a brand I hardly ever get, St. John's Bay, but this was a plus size women's full button dress with sash details, long sleeves, and it was corduroy. Corduroy is very trendy. This is also a very popular red right now. And so for all of those reasons, we got it. I only flipped it for $25, but again, I like padding my sales with stuff I'm already coming across that I know is going to flip quickly. Here's another style-based piece, not a brand I would memorize, but again, the silhouette, very tightly fitted and then flaring out. This is a little silk baby doll fairy style top. I included lots of keywords like Y2K, baby doll, and fairy. And then some in my description, dainty, feminine, ethereal, and spring. And this ended up selling on an offer for $24. All right, this was an item I paid way too much for. This is the brand Frank Usher. And this actually is a bolo brand that people do look for. However, it's more popular overseas, so not really in the US. If you look at most of their solds, they have like a decent sell-through rate, but most of their solds are in another country. And so whenever you see that, I recommend filtering to your item location to US only, if that's where you're located, or to wherever you are located, to just make more realistic comps. And I believe we got this from a wholesaler, and whoever did the wholesale call that day must not have done that because we have sat on this item. We originally had this listed for a lot of money and it did retail for a lot at one time, but it has sat and sat and sat. So I finally got an offer for $75 and we moved this item. But if I were to come across this brand Frank Usher, I would probably get it just at a much, much lower cost than what I originally paid, but wanted to put that on your radar in case you do come across a deal for this brand. And lastly is another puffer jacket. This one's actually a kid's, and if you don't normally search the kids section, I don't go through it very thoroughly, but I do like kind of just like glancing down the aisle and seeing if there are any puffer coats. Those actually do perform really well for me, and North Face is absolutely a brand in the kids department that you want to look for. Sometimes their kids stuff even sells for more than the adult stuff and has a better sell-through rate. So I'm always on the hunt for North Face kids things, especially in Reel Down. This ended up selling on an offer for $42. All right, you guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you all enjoyed watching. Let me know down below what was your favorite sale from last week. That's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.